Okay, hi guys, welcome back to a new video. If you're new here, my name's Jen. I just graduated law school last spring from Arizona State University's law school, and now I'm working in civil litigation here in Scottsdale. If you're returning, welcome back. Today's video, we're gonna talk about law school admissions and the application process, which is something I get asked a lot of questions about. And to be honest with you guys, sometimes they're hard for me to answer because I don't really remember that process that clearly. It's been several years now. And I'm only one person, so I can share my experiences, but they're not always representative of everyone's application process. So because of that, I'm so excited to let you guys know that today's video is sponsored by Right Track Admissions, which is a global admissions consulting firm, and this is what they do. They work with people on their applications to get into the programs of their choice, whether that's law school, grad school, all types of different programs. But the founder, Hamada, he is a law school grad, so that's definitely an area of expertise. And so for this video, I'm gonna let him answer 10 of the most frequently asked questions I get about the application process, and I might jump in here and there with like my thoughts or an anecdote or something, but I think he's far more qualified to answer these questions than I am, and I think that this is gonna be a lot more helpful for you guys. So I'm really excited. So a little about Right Track before we jump in. Like I said, they're a global admissions consulting firm, so they work with people to help craft personal statements and addenda and all the things that go into a law school application besides just your LSAT score or whatever program you're applying to, and they make sure it is put together in a way that gives you the best chance you have of getting into the program of your choice. And Hamada, the founder, like I mentioned, he's a law school grad. He went to UCLA undergrad, Berkeley Law School. He also has a master's in public administration from Harvard. So he's been around these programs. He really knows how this stuff works. And I'm excited to pass along his expertise to you guys today. Okay, so let's jump into the 10 questions. I'm gonna put timestamps in the description below, so if there's any question you're just here for specifically, I'll put what minute it's at in the description. And then also for a couple of the questions, Right Track has some videos online that address it in a little bit more detail, so I'm gonna link those videos below with the question that it's talking about. And so hopefully if you want more information, go check that out. It'll explain it in a little bit more detail. So let's dive in. So the first question we're gonna talk about is just simply how to choose which law school is right for you.
So there are a number of factors you want to be thinking about when choosing a right law school. First, think about the academics, the courses, the programs, the clinics, the concentrations, the professors. You want to think about those factors as it pertains to what area you really want to concentrate for law school. Then think about the location. Do you want to go to a law school where you're eventually going to go practice in that location, like going to New York City or Los Angeles, or you don't care about that, you're agnostic to location, you just want to go to a great law school, which then leads into reputation. Would you rather choose a school that has a better reputation but in a city that you don't want to practice in, or a city that's not large? Or would you rather go to a school that's in a big city but may not have as great of a reputation? Then you also want to factor in cost. Do you feel that going to a state school where maybe cheaper is better for you because you want to practice, let's say, nonprofit kind of work or pro bono kind of work that's not going to get you a lot of money? Or do you not care about that and you don't care that much about the costs and the kind of money that you would get in terms of financial aid? These are all factors you want to be considering when thinking about choosing the right law school.
Oh, and just so you guys know, these questions are going to move relatively chronologically as far as the application process goes. So next we're going to talk about extracurriculars in undergrad and what role those play in your application.
In terms of extracurricular activities that you would want to do before going to law school, think about those activities that really flex those skill sets that would be required for someone who wants to pursue a career in law. Things like advocacy skills, right? So volunteers, very important, and schools are going to look for that. Things like writing, so definitely want to do something that's writing related. Things that are really about vocal, like oral argumentation. So think about activities that play into that. And teamwork. A lot of those activities that you would do in terms of extracurricular activities are going to be the ones that you can speak about in your diversity statement, in your personal statement, and other parts of your application. So they're very, very important, and you want to focus on those as much as your academics.
Okay, I just want to echo everything Hamada said, and I really would recommend any extracurriculars that will sharpen your writing skills. I did a lot of those in undergrad and found that I definitely had a leg up when it came to writing in law school. Because when you get to law school, writing is pretty much the name of the game. Like, that is what you'll be doing. Most of your finals will be written essays. You will have to write briefs for grades. And you just want your writing to be in as good of shape as possible when you get there. So any extracurriculars that can give you practice with that, I highly recommend. Okay, great. Now let's jump to talking about the personal statement.
When thinking about your personal statement, there are a lot of factors that you have to consider. But the best way to look at structuring it and approaching it, think of it like a movie. How does it start? How does it grab the attention of the audience? How does your character develop? How does it come to an inflection point, a decision that needs to be made, right? A climax. And then how does it conclude? So think about that, and the easiest way to think about that is through your ABCs. Attention grabber, background, career, academic and professional, direction, where you want to go, educational institution and program, and finally the finale. Follow that 6-part methodology, and you'll be able to structure the personal statement and really be able to answer that fundamental question: why law school, why now, why you, and why that law school? Now, things to avoid is actually writing down, I want to go to law school because. That is not only overdone, it takes away from the personal quality, the personal element, and really the exercise of a personal statement is being creative, really grabbing, pulling them in, and making yourself memorable.
Okay, next we're going to talk about the diversity statement and specifically sort of how to craft it in a way that will complement your personal statement, how they're alike and how they're different, and what sort of goes into your diversity statement.
Now, the diversity statement is a very, very important part of the application process, and it really answers the question, how are you, who you are, going to add value to that class in terms of in class and out of class? And you really want to showcase that you believe in diversity, you believe in inclusion. So what have you done in your life to really showcase that? And that doesn't have to be just your own racial background, your ethnic background, your nationality, your religion. It's about experiences you've had, hardships you've faced, travels you've done, experiences that you've taken on that really shaped who you are. And that's how you want to think about your diversity statement. And you don't want to duplicate what you already have in the personal statement. You want to complement them. One is really talking about why you want to go to law school, and one's going to talk about how you're going to add to that law school. And approach it the same way. Again, grab their attention, talk about who you are in your background, talk about how you've manifested who you are in your background, and talk about how you're going to add value to that class community.
Okay, next we're going to talk about the possibility of adding an addendum to your applications. Most applications will give you the option to submit an addendum if there's anything you want to explain, like any reason your grades aren't exactly representative of you as a student, or your LSAT score wasn't what you think it should have been, extenuating circumstances that have gone on in your life that you would like to explain as they relate to your application. So we're just going to talk about how to know if you need to submit one and what should be in it.
Now, the addendum doesn't have to be written, but if you have an extenuating circumstance in terms of your academics, in terms of your life, medical, anything that you don't want to include in your personal statement or your diversity statement should go in the addendum. And those extenuating circumstances should really speak about, most likely, a poor LSAT score or why that happened, poor GPA, potentially 1 semester or 2 semesters a year, what have you. You want to explain that. A gap in your education, any medical circumstance that affected your grades or so forth, any legal issue that you faced. You want to put that in an addendum. And the addendum really should be structured 3 parts. Initially, you want to kind of tell them what the addendum is going to be used for, then explain that situation, and then explain what you've done about it. Okay? And it doesn't need to be more than 300-400 words, but it could be a very, very important part of your application to really explain that extenuating circumstances that would otherwise harm your application.
Okay, moving right along to the next big piece of the application, which is letters of recommendation, and we're going to talk specifically about who they should come from and how that might change given what stage of your life you're at when you're applying.
It goes without saying that the letter of recommendation, again, is one of the more fundamental parts of your application because it goes outside of your hand and in the hand of someone else that can really speak about who you are and the qualities that the school is going to be looking for, right? Now, if you are a student or just graduated, you definitely want to get your recommendations, at least the first 2, who are going to be academic, okay? Now, if it's been a while since you've graduated, then you want to probably get at least 1 academic and 1 professional. And if you have the opportunity to submit 3 letters of recommendation, 2 professional and possibly 2 academic and possibly 1 professional, or 1 academic, 1 professional, and 1 volunteer, if you can get one that can talk about some of the volunteer work that you do. But it's very, very important you diversify, and what you don't want to have happen is you get a letter of recommendation from someone who's potentially like a CEO or a manager, somebody really big in your company that doesn't know you and really writes a very generalized letter of recommendation. You want one that's really personal to you, that can speak about those qualities that law schools look for: analytical skills, teamwork skills, right? Oratory skills, advocacy skills, things that you can really bring out in the class. So make sure you pick the right recommender. And again, professional, only if you've been out of school for a while, but you still want to have an academic. And if you're still in school or just graduated, focus on getting academic recommendations.
Great, totally agree. I will add here that if you guys are planning on asking any of your undergrad professors for a letter of recommendation when you apply, even if you're not going to apply straight out of undergrad, maybe you're going to ask for one in a year or two or whenever you're planning on applying, just tell them earlier and make sure that that's something they're comfortable doing. Do they do that for students? Like, I know the ones that I got from undergrad, I went to a big school, so a lot of my professors didn't know me that well. Like, it was a lot of big lecture courses. So I would meet with them at the beginning of the semester and just introduce myself, ask if they would maybe be willing to. And one of my professors actually said, yes, I do write letters as long as you get at least a B in my class and you are, and you have good attendance and things like that. Like, they just laid out their expectations. And she said she doesn't write rec letters unless those things are true. So my advice is just talk about it early with these professors so that you can make sure you're set up when you need the letter. Okay, next we're gonna talk about the why our school question that some applications include, and specifically how to craft something that really shows your commitment to that school, especially if you're applying at lots of different places.
Now, when writing the Why Our School essay, think about CLAP. C comes in 4 parts: clinics, courses, concentrations, and community. L, think about location, right? Where the school is located and what makes that place unique. Again, New York versus like Ithaca. A, activities. Think about journals. Think about student organizations that you would be interested in that school. And finally, P comes in 2 parts: programs, possibly like an IP program that they do very well, right? Or human rights program that they do, right? And think about professors. Some professor you really want to study with or you really want to work with. So again, think CLAP, C-L-A-P, in terms of what makes that school unique to you, and make sure that you're specific and you do your research. You can write that section in the penultimate paragraph of the essay, or if it's a standalone, school's asking for it, then just kind of hammer it out with those points. Start with academic, then you go to community, then you go to location.
Next, we're going to talk about visiting and touring law schools and whether doing so impacts your chances at getting in.
I've been asked many times, will it hurt my chances if I don't go and do a visit on campus? Look, in the end of the day, you don't always have the opportunity to go check out your law school of choice. Possibly distance, COVID, monetary issues. You just have too many things going on. So, it's not going to hurt you. It will help you, but it's not going to destroy your application if you don't go. But make sure that you still do your diligence. Talk to alumni if you can. You can do that remotely. Talk to current students, right? Do a virtual tour, right? Check out the social media handles of that school and see what they're talking about, or their school paper. Gather that information, right? But if you do have the opportunity to go to that school, make sure that you don't just walk around. Make sure you speak to people in the admissions department. Make sure you can try to even schedule an audit and audit a class so you can see how the professors are and the students are, right? Talk to current students, talk to faculty, gather those information, those names, and you can put into that why that school essay.
Yeah, if you can make it happen, I think it's a really good thing to do. Specifically, when I toured law schools, I learned a lot by sitting in on the classes. That was really helpful for me. So if you are visiting schools, see if they can arrange that. Most of them will be happy to. That's a pretty normal ask, and in fact, they may set it up for you, but I think it's a really worthwhile experience, and that was how I learned a lot about the law schools I was considering, was sitting in on classes. Okay, now let's talk deadlines and when to get your application in, and specifically if there are any benefits to submitting it early.
Now, applying to law school early is really, really important because unlike other graduate programs, it's rolling admission. So if you can get your application out sometime in October, you're way ahead of the game, right? And they will evaluate your complete application faster and give you a seat potentially faster than other people who won't have that opportunity if they apply later. If you're applying by around Thanksgiving, you're still in good standing. But if you get to about December, Christmas time, later in January, you're really falling behind. They've already evaluated applications and already started giving out seats at the table for that school. So apply early, it's super advantageous. However, if you're taking or retaking the LSAT and you know you can do a lot better, or rush your application with your current LSAT, I would say wait, take the LSAT, apply a little bit later, because it will help you more to have a much higher LSAT. But if you don't, then take that advantage, maximize it, and apply early as possible to give yourself the best chances of admission.
Okay guys, the last question that we're gonna cover is how do I fund my law school education, which can kind of be the elephant in the room sometimes, but Hamada has some really great tips, so I'm gonna throw it over to him.
Getting funding for law school, free funding, is difficult. The idea is that there's an expectation you're going to be a working professional and make a lot of money in the legal field. So there's less money, unlike an undergrad. That being said, there are ways to fund it other than just loans. You can get merit-based scholarships, you can get private scholarships. At the school, if you get into 2 top programs, you can try to work one school off the other and negotiate funding. Now don't forget, when you are in school, you can also get funding or fund your education. Personally, I didn't get any funding when I went to UC-Berkeley for law school. However, I was able to work as a TA or as a teacher assistant. I was able to do summer jobs, several summers, and I was able to just kind of accumulate different sources of income that allowed me to pay off my tuition every year so that I graduated with no debt. So there are ways to pay it, even if you don't get money from the beginning. But definitely look for it. It's a full-time job, and it's important that you at least try.
Okay, you guys, I hope this was helpful. I certainly think it was. I mean, Right Track has such a wealth of knowledge, and this is what they do, so I think that this information could not be coming from a better source. So I'm really excited. Thanks again to Right Track for sponsoring this video, and I'm gonna throw in a little clip at the end here of Hamada explaining a little bit about Right Track, just so you guys can learn a little bit more. And I'm putting all of their info in the description below. Check them out, use them, get into the school of your dreams, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.
So we've helped a lot of applicants get into top law schools. Myself personally, I went through a lot of struggles to get into a great law school with a poor LSAT score. So make sure to check out all our videos, all our content out there that we try to provide you so that you have some direction in terms of writing the personal statement, diversity statement, resume, addendum, and all other parts of the application process, and how to succeed as a law student when you go to law school and as a professional after.